welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today I'm going to be sharing some fun bits and pieces that I was given as part of my design teamwork for DRK Craft. And I thought that with them I would show you how I get over it if I'm having a little bit of a crafty block and kind of get my mojo going again. So I'll show you the products first and then I'll talk you through how I kind of go through the process of getting my mojo back. So the first thing we are going to use is this Dovecraft Premium Be Happy paper pad. So it's a really nice paper pad. I'll just quickly show you the pages. You get 3 of each sheet. And some of them are really like gorgeous, foiled, beautiful pieces. So I'm just flicking through them really quickly so you can get an idea of what's in there. And that one's pearlescent as well. That one's glitter. And it says Be Happy and Beautiful and Honey Honey. This one's glittery as well. And then this one's foiled. So it's a really lovely paper. And then I've also got this Dovecraft Neutrals paper pack, which goes really nicely with it. So you get 48 sheets in here, 2 of each colour, and you can see it's a really wide selection of neutrals, so you're probably going to get something to go with pretty much every project you're going to do. And then I've also got this gold glitter cardstock, which there's 20 sheets in here, so it's quite a big pack. It's a really nice quality, and I found that it die cuts really well as well. So the thing that I love to do when I'm getting a bit stuck, I need to make a card but I'm a bit stuck as to what to do, is to go onto Pinterest and have a look at card sketches, which are kind of like templates for cards. I actually have a Pinterest board with loads on, so I'll link that below in case you want to go check it out. But I find that a card sketch can kind of help me get out of that groove, because it kind of gives you a guide to follow and you're still kind of like putting the papers together and the colours and using your bits and pieces, but it's giving you that guide, and I really like that for trying to kind of get out of a bit of a crafty funk. So you can see I've got a mixture of templates here. You can find them all over on that Pinterest board. We've got ones from My Heart Sketches, from MFT, found some from scrapbook.com. So I'm going to keep those to one side so that you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So we're going to go through them. We're going to start with this one here. So this one's a bit more of a simple one. You can see it's just got this shape here and then the circle and the flowers. And I'm just using one of my favourite die sets, which you probably have seen me use quite a lot if you follow along with my videos. It's the Be Bold Blooms from Spellbinders, and for me it's just so lovely because you get a really wide variety of flowers in there. They're a really nice size to go on most cards, so I'm going to be using these with those papers today. So I'll be mostly using 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card blanks today. So that's what I'm going to do with this. I've just cut this piece of paper from that Neutrals pack. And this is paper, not cardstock, so we need a nice thin layer of glue on it. I don't want to be adding too much and wrinkling that paper. And then you can see we've got this angle here. And I want to do that with the bees with a bit of the gold glitter showing. So I'm going to glue the gold glitter down first. And so to do that, I'm going to put some glue in this corner on here and some glue in this corner of here. And the reason for that is I want to make sure I've got glue right into this corner, and I want to make sure I've got glue right into this corner, but I don't know exactly where it's going to stop to be able to kind of put it all on here. I hope that makes sense. And then I'm just going to add that on here. And I find this way of doing these kind of angled cards much easier than measuring everything out first. So then once I've done that, I can just flip this over and I can follow the lines of the card with my scissors. And I'm actually just going to pop a bit of glue under there as well, because I realised that I hadn't put any in that corner. And then I want to glue the other paper onto the glitter cardstock, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to use some double-sided tape for that. And my red liner tape ran out, so I'm just going to switch to this one. And I'm making sure that I leave a gap between the edges, because obviously I want a bit of that gold to show. And then I'm going to put a bit of glue in the middle as well, just to kind of really help secure that. And then I'm going to go in with the corner of this paper, and I'm just going to line it up to make sure it's nice and even. And then once again I'm going to use the card edges as a guide to cut it. And then I've just used a layering die to cut a circle from brown, just slightly darker brown than this, and then this gold as well. And then I'm going to use this Wow Happy Sentiment stamp set, and then I'm going to heat emboss the happy birthday onto that circle. And then I'm going to do that teeny tiny birthday underneath. And then I'll use the Wow Superfine Gold Embossing Powders. I'm going to heat that up. And before I die cut this, I put a little bit of adhesive sheet on the back of the circle so that I could just stick it straight onto my gold glitter circle. So then I'm going to use my foam pads just to pop that up. And then I've cut these flowers from this same lighter brown paper. And actually I'd pulled out some like brighter colours to cut the flowers out of originally. I wouldn't usually think of brown as something to do them out of, but I really like this neutral, and then I've cut the centres out of that glitter gold. I think it looks really pretty. And then I can just add these around the outside. And then I've got this little mix that is called Vanilla Kiss from Little Things by Lucy's Cards. And I'm just going to grab some of these little gold gems out of it. So then here's the sketch for this. You can see how that's come together, and I'm really pleased with that card. I'm going to leave those in that corner there because I'll probably use them for another card as well. So I'm going to move on to this one here next. So for this one I've used the pattern paper as the base, so this nice kind of greeny one. And then I'm building it up. I'm looking at what's nearest the back first and building it up that way. So I've got this piece of kind of like green tinge card from the neutrals pair. I'm going to use that next. So that measures 1 inch by 5 inches. So I'm going to pop that there. And then I've got this piece to go on top of that. So that is 4.5 inches by 3.25 inches. I'll pop that on top. And the nice thing is using this paper pack, which is obviously created to kind of all go together, with the neutrals pack, which blends in really well. I can kind of mix and match most of the things. I don't really need to worry too much about whether something's going to go because it all looks really nice. So then you can see this has got like a stitch detail. Obviously you don't need to add all of the details that are on there if you don't want to, but I'm going to choose to do so on here. So I'm going in with my alcohol marker and just adding this kind of like faux stitch detail. It just adds a nice frame to that lighter colour paper. And then I've got these Be Beautiful, Be Happy sentiment toppers, and those are part of my design team pack as well. And I'm going to use this green Be Happy one. This is just a strip of that same dark green paper. And then I want to use this big flower down here, so I'm just making sure that I've got room for the flower and the sentiment before I stick it down. And then I want to stress again that you absolutely do not need to use all of these details. So I've got this Altenew like die cut washi tape, which I thought would be really nice to poke out over there. So I'm just going to cut like a bit. I'm going to cut it along this line because I want this kind of like, I want it to be almost like a frayed edge. So I'm going to cut it the same length as my sentiment topper. And so I want that to go kind of underneath. So I'm going to pop that about there. And then I can glue on my sentiment. And then you can see that I've cut all of these flowers from the set. And I've cut them all out of the neutrals paper. And I'm going to pop this one up on a foam pad, and then these pieces I'll kind of put up the page. And then let's add on some more of these gold gems. And then you can see we've got another really pretty card, kind of based on this one. Then for this next one, we're going to move on to this sketch. So I've got my card blank and I've got a piece of the glitter cardstock that is the same size as my card blank, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And then I've got this which is 1/4 of an inch smaller. You can see the corners are rounded on here. I'm going to use my corner rounder punch. This is a really old one from Stampin' Up! And I'm not going to use the stitching detail this time that they've got. I need to add some tape onto here as well so that it sits nicely on my glitter. Then I'm going to use that same sentiment as I used on the first card, and I'm going to emboss it in the gold again. And I'm making sure to use a super fine embossing powder to get the detail of that sentiment in. Because that birthday is so small that if you were using a coarser embossing powder, it just wouldn't pick up the details. I didn't add any double-sided adhesive sheet onto the back of here before I cut it out, so I'm going to add some tape. I find the mixture of the two tends to help it stick nicely to the glitter. So then I've got this piece and I'm going to cut it to be near enough the same size as my card blank, just slightly smaller, and then I'm going to cut flags into it. So that's going to be the flag piece for here, behind here. You can see I've really played with the dimensions here. This one is a much skinnier piece, and the circle is much smaller in comparison to the size of the card. So I've kind of got the pieces there, but they're like different proportions because I kind of want to make it to fit the things I want to use. And then I've got these flowers, so I can just add these gold centres in. And I've not tried using this gold glitter to cut anything particularly delicate yet, but it cuts like these centres and this really nicely. I've not had to kind of try and force the pieces out or anything like that. You know, sometimes with glitter cardstock you kind of almost have to just cut the bits that are kind of still joined on after you die cut it. I've not had to do that with these at all. It's cut really nicely. So I've just been playing with my pieces to check which layout I want. I'm really happy with this layout now, so I'm going to stick these down. And actually I think I might use foam pads for these. I've actually decided that I don't really like this tab on, so I'm just going to tear that out from underneath. And the other side came off decidedly nicer than this side. I was very lucky with the other side. So I'm just going to glue something over there. I think this extra flower looks quite nice there. And then I'm going to add a little bit extra with these little gems as well. So there's that card finished, and you can see when you compare it to the sketch, because I've kind of changed the proportions and I've taken this bit out and stuff, it's ended up being a slightly different card inspired by that. And I really like that card, but it's completely inspired by a card sketch. And I think it's such a nice way of kind of like doing things when you don't have so much mojo. So in the final card sketch on this page is this square one, and I've used a 5x5 inch card blank, and I'm going to cover that with this piece of paper. And then this piece is 4x4 and the gold piece is 4¼ by 4¼ So let's glue those on as well. Again, the plain piece is from that neutrals pack. I love how beautifully that neutrals pack goes with this paper pad. It's so nice. And then again, I'm going to use my tape and my glue because I'm sticking onto the glitter. And then I've used this gorgeous bee paper and the gold glitter again, and I've used my circle dies just to cut circles out of them. And I just love this bee paper so much, so I just really wanted that to be the focal point of this card. So I'm going to pop that up on some foam pads. So then I'm going to do this banner in this slightly darker kind of khaki green from the neutrals pack. I'm going to cut that to the size of my card. I'm going to add a little flag end into it. I like to add my flag ends by cutting up the middle and then cutting into the flag. And then I'm going to add a couple of foam pads to this end just to support that on the card. Then I'm going to pull out one of these stamped sentiments again. Maybe I'll use the beautiful this time. And I'll add that on there. Then I've got one of these large flowers to add on as well. And I'm going to double up the foam pads for this flower because the foam pads behind the sentiment are really thick and I want it to be the same height. And I'll add on some of these little gold domes again. So then there's that one done. You can see that versus this. Obviously that's got a heart where I've got a flower, just little bits and pieces that set it apart. And you can see I really think this gold glitter really brings these cards to life. So then for my final card, I'm going to use this one, and so I'm going to line my card blank with a piece of the paper from the pack. Then I've got this piece that's 1/2 inch smaller than my card blank. I really love these foiled papers, they're so pretty. And then I've cut this out that slightly darker green, and that is from this Stampender set from Spellbinders, and it's really nice. It's got like this one that you can use with your slimline cards. You've got ones for sentiments, you've got stitched ovals. This is obviously the one I've used for this one with the scalloped edge. I've got this larger stitched oval in there as well, and the smaller scalloped edge. You've got these dies in a few sizes, smaller scalloped oval in that one, and then a couple of hexagons as well. I was gifted those a couple of months ago. I think they're really useful dies. So I'm going to use that instead of this piece here because I don't have anything that shape. And then I've cut these pieces from that gorgeous bee paper. So I'm going to glue on the oval. And then I'm going to add these rectangles with foam heads. And I've chosen to do 3 rectangles as opposed to the 4 that they've got. And then I'm going to use this beautiful sentiment, but I don't want the bit on the back to be this huge, so I'm just going to pull that off, and I'm going to put some of the slimmer ones that I usually use on the back instead. So then I can just pop this middle into this flower, and then I've got some of these cherry blossom enamel dots from Altenew, and I can just add some of those into the centre of these gold glitter flowers. So then where they've got flowers up here and flowers around here, I'm going to do the same. So I'm just going to add this flower with a couple of leafy bits up here, so I can glue those bits down. So I'm popping all the flowers up on foam pads and just gluing on the leaves. And then once again I just want to finish off with a few little gems. I might even add on some of these little tiny stars. So then that's that final card finished. You can see that versus the sketch. So there are all 5 of the cards that I created today. I really hope that it's helped to give you ideas for how to get out of a funk if you ever lose your crafty mojo as well. I really like using card sketches for doing that. I'd love to know which is your favourite card. Please do let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate you clicking like below. You can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I have a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.